Hi there, it's Paulie here. So, lately I've seen a lot of anti-trans posts and really vicious reactionary kind of right-wing bullshit coming out online from people who are old school miniatures gamers. So, I know I'm preaching to the choir. I mean, you guys are like, not complete pricks. This is why you'd be watching this channel. However, if you know any of these people, try and curb them, rein them in and tell them to rethink their horrible, vicious, wasted lives, will you? Because the stuff that they're posting out there, their ideologies, as we've seen in Melbourne recently, you align literally lockstep with Nazis. Actual uniform wearing, Sieg Heil throwing Nazis. That's what anti-trans is. It's Nazism. There is nothing. The anti-trans movement is demonstrably white supremacist, authoritarian, anti-democratic, anti-women's rights, anti-gay, it's just vile. And people associated with miniature clubs are posting this stuff out there. The clubs will begin dying. It has begun. These clubs seem to be withering because there's no new recruits. Look, I started playing role-playing games when I was 12 because I got books by like Donald Featherston and I got books by Charles Grant which communicated this amazing love. Come and try this hobby. It's amazing. It's given us so much joy. We think it'll give you joy. And you read it and go, hell yeah, it's going to give me joy. I'm in there. Give me a box of Airfix Ancient Britons. I'm playing. And then you'd go. But that's not happening anymore. The kids, the young players, the ones that should be coming into those clubs aren't, because these kind of social media posts give these clubs a deserved reputation as nests of unspeakable angry old men, angry old white guys, angry old potentially violent white guys. So whereas there are a lot of groups that are doing fairly well in making miniatures games and so on, like, you know, Warlord Games and so on, it's a younger clientele that's buying them, but they're playing them the same way most people play role-playing games. They're playing them amongst their friends. They have a small group and they play them. They're not going to these clubs. These clubs that were originally set up as like a go-to resource, we can come and find, you know, opponents and come and find friends and find out how to do things, make things. Someone would come in with ideas, come in with a historical period you hadn't thought of playing before, but it looks good, you do it. No. They're ignoring all that because of the rat these clubs are giving themselves from this. Miniatures won't die, but those clubs, who I think were valuable and are valuable and have a kind of a lore and a set of traditions, you know, they'll wither and die. Look, some of the clubs that I was with back in the day, we'd have much beloved members and so on who'd die. But they would will their miniatures, say, to the club, so that anyone that came in, any new players or so on, club's got this rack of armies there that you can just take and jump in and play, you know, so that they're there as a resource for everyone. You know, that was a loving act, and that gave these clubs, you know, a real resource. And those people's stories didn't vanish. The gaming goes on for that person. Those armies are still there on the table, and people are going to do what I do. They're going to tell the anecdotes and pass on the lore of how to make that, how to do that, how to do this, make their own rules, do these things, pass on the fun and the lore from the gamers in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, you know, who made all this stuff and made it happen. And you know, the fun continues. They keep that alive. You kill those clubs, you lose all that. It's like you killed all those people all over again. And you're killing them because some old bastards would rather burn the house down than share it with a new generation or with people that they don't like. Look, these guys worked to keep women out of the hobby. Sue Loughlin-Barker, one of the foundation Ancients players, has written some of the foundation rules of the hobby. I've been speaking to her, corresponding with her. There's a whole story there of the misogyny of being essentially a game designer and miniatures gamer and, you know, serious researcher in an environment where men are trying as hard as they can to push you out. They've kept women, they've kept 55% of the human population out of their hobby by just being total bastards. Now they're trying to keep, gay and lesbian and, trans people out of a hobby, that, people of color out of the hobby. They've always made it real obvious that they don't like, anyone that's not white. We've let this minority of old pricks wreck a hobby, and we've let them do it for too long. So if you're in a club, I would like you to have a serious talk with the members about their behaviour, because we must all endeavour to be the best possible ambassadors for our hobby as possible, because it gave us joy. It is our honour to pass that on to new generations, and these people aren't doing it. They're killing it. They're just killing it and throwing it in a ditch because they want it their way, or it can die. Have a hard word. If you are in a miniatures club or something, literally have a meeting about it. Do not make these posts because everyone sees it and they link it back to your club. They absolutely do. And that club's going to wither and die, and you're going to lose all that history and all those traditions and all those stories and all those tales. The kids will keep playing, and they'll do it their way. You're not wrecking the hobby. Women are playing now. Trans people are playing now. Gay people are playing now. People of colour are playing now, despite you, not because of you. But how good would it have been, and how good will it be if you bring them in? And that culture becomes vibrant and remains a thing for future generations of gamers to enjoy. That's the goal. I think it is our honour to pass on those joys and those stories and keep the games going. I really do. Anyway, just some thoughts. Literally, have a word to any old bastards in your group. Their private posts aren't private. It's not just their horrible nest of friends who see it. We all do. And the word gets out. And everyone sees it. And they link it back to the club. And they say, not going there. Yeah. Culture is what you make of it. Make it a good one. Anyway, cheers.